Are you a woman whose life is dedicated to Christian ministry? Do you have a burden to bind up the brokenhearted, set captives free, and lead women to crowns of beauty instead of ashes? Welcome to the Everyday Royalty Podcast, where we dig deeper into strategies that turn the broken into beautiful and make trials your training ground so you can go out as a daughter of the King to lead others into peace and healing. Here's your host, licensed professional clinical counselor and faith and focus coach, Carrie Kitchen.
Today's guest is Jennifer Trinidad from budgetdivas.com. Jenn comes to share her experience of trying to pay off debt and feeling like she was getting nowhere, to asking God how to do it his way and finding solutions. Jenn now leads others into debt freedom, and I'm so excited for you to hear what she's got to say. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the show, Jenn. I'm so glad you're here today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So we always start the show, as our listeners know, with just asking our guests to share a bit of their testimony, a bit of their story. So I would like to invite you now just to share a little bit about who you are and your story that has brought you to a cruel mission that God has you on now.
Thank you so much. So I'm Jenn Trinidad, and I live in Honolulu, Hawaii with my husband, Alden. And our story is it started back in 2016. And just a little bit about our story is I was working in a job that on paper, it looked like the perfect job. It was a business development manager with a sales commission, bonuses, and so forth. But the job was really taking me away from my family. And so I decided that I wanted to take another job that would allow me to have more time freedom so I could spend with them. But it also came with a huge pay cut. So going back to that job, my husband and I, we knew that we needed to pay off our debt. The reason why we had took the other job was so that we could have more money freedom to pay off more debt. So when we started on our journey, we started with Dave Ramsey, and we love Dave Ramsey. But the first 2 years was really hard for us because when he says, live on a rice and beans diet and don't go out to eat and don't go on vacations, that's what we did for the first 2 years. The first 2 years, we lived on nothing. Our family was like, what's going on with you? How come we don't see you anymore? And it was in that third year that I asked God, I said, if there's a reason for me going through this, please tell me, because, we're struggling. We are trying to get out of debt. We're making progress, but not as fast as we want. And I started saying, what are the talents that I have that I could do to get out of debt faster? And one of the things that I love to do is shop. I'm a shopaholic. So the first 2 years not shopping was really hard for me. And then I stumbled on a YouTube video, and then they were talking about how they got paid $400 in 1 month to shop. And I was like, this is a godsend. So I started going down the rabbit hole and researching and how to do it, and found out that people actually get paid as a mystery shopper to go out and shop and evaluate all these companies. And so that is what I teach people now, is how you can pay off debt while also not sacrificing your family time or your social life. And you can do that by becoming a secret shopper. So the regular money that you get paid through mystery shopping can go to your debt, but the mystery shop companies also reimburse you for things that you have to buy. So that was what was paying our groceries, going on date nights, and so forth. And that's the business that I have now, is teaching people how to do that as well through Budget Divas and Mystery Shopping Ninjas.
That is so fun. It's such a fun way to take care of the needs. I think God is so creative in how he takes something that he has even instilled in us, like some of the things we enjoy most and some of our gifts and talents, and how he has such a way of giving us such purpose in that. But that is such a fun and creative way to pay off the debt. So tell me a little bit about kind of what brought you to the point where you thought, okay, something's got to change. I have to find some way to pay off the debt. I have to try to find something to change that area of discomfort, because I know a lot of people are there as far as experiencing that discomfort that comes along with debt and just the financial situation, just whatever the situation is. What was it for you?
When I was in that business development manager position, it came with a bonus structure, which was great. But I noticed that every time I would put down money towards the debt, it wasn't really making any impact on it. Most of it was going to the interest, and just a tiny bit was going to the principal.
Mhm.
And the real reason was I hadn't developed good money habits. So even though I was putting money towards that through those sales commissions, I was still spending like every day was payday. And so when I took that pay cut, I really strategized and looked at everything that we had on paper, everything that we were doing. And that was at the moment where I was like, something has to change. Something has to change in regards to we need to have better money habits. We need to stop spending, going to Cheesecake Factory and, having our bill at $200 every single week kind of thing. And also, I just wanted more time with my family. My son was entering high school, and I knew that I only had 4 more years until he went to college. So I really wanted to make that time valuable to spend time with him instead of just seeing him at 8 o'clock at night and then in the morning when I was going to work.
I think there is such a mindset that you're describing there. Like there was a shift that happened because you realized this doesn't work for me anymore. And I love how you're saying before too that you ask God to kind of show you, like, okay, if there is a reason I'm going through this, please let me see what that is. And he took that and kind of helped you develop guided you to the right place to develop the proper mindset around money and how you're going to approach it and how you're going to approach getting out of debt. But then he gave you this cool mission to be able to help others have that freedom too. Because I know in your situation, it sounds like there's a lot of discomfort and you wanted to pay it all off and you couldn't figure out how to do it. But I know there are many situations where that are even bigger than that. Like if people are not able to go to the Cheesecake Factory ever, because it's not just because you're paying toward the debt and it's not going away, but like maybe you don't have it to even pay the bills. And if you have any kind of words of advice for someone who's in that position, like first of all, what has God taught you that could be helpful for them to learn? And also like just practical things that they can maybe start doing to start moving in the right direction, start moving toward even this mystery shopper thing and whatever else whatever other advice comes to mind.
It's really interesting because my members and I, we just finished a 7-day challenge, and it was a no spend challenge. Now that seems counterintuitive. Like if you're not spending any money for 7 days, you might be more stressed. But actually the opposite happens. When I first started doing it, when you're on our debt-free journey, I noticed that I really didn't need much. I was more grateful more than anything because every single day I would write down in my journal, okay, I can't spend today, but let me write down the things that I'm grateful for. So I would go to my kitchen and I would see like my chest freezer and my freezer and my fridge and my pantry are full of food. I really don't need to go grocery shopping to be buying more food. Or, I look out the window and I can see the ocean, I can see the mountains. Not many people have um, that in their lives. And then I'm also able to work from home. So it came from like a mind of gratitude, really. And so the advice that I would give to anyone who's stressed or frustrated with their budget, with their um, money frustrations, is just to take a step back and just to stop doing what they're currently doing and slow down. When we slow down and we really come from a grateful heart, that's when we'll start to see things moving. It's really weird and it seems counterintuitive. Like we always need to be in this rat race where we're making more money and paying off the debt really, really fast. But I noticed that when I was able to slow down, then I was able to clear my mind and I was able to think more clearly and logically so that I could make better money decisions.
I love that advice. We talk frequently on the podcast about the power of gratitude, just in general, like the power of gratitude in life when you are focusing on that first. if you are feeling stressed, or if you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're having trouble connecting with God, if you're focusing on that gratitude first, that is a very powerful thing. I mean, scripture says that we enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. And when we're coming with that mindset, when we're looking at that first and looking at what we do have rather than what we don't have, that makes a world of difference. It makes so much difference. And it also helps us to be able to connect with Jesus more clearly and to be able to come to him for help. And I think that's ultimately the goal. Like when we are going to him, like you sought him out and he guided you to something that was a solution for you. And that's the amazing part when it starts with gratitude too. But that's the amazing part is when we take it to him, he's going to provide a solution because he's the source of every solution. So when we're able to connect with him, again, gratitude comes in handy there. When we're able to connect with him, he's going to lead us in the right direction. But that takes a mindset shift, and that's such a powerful thing. Such good advice. So what are you said you did the challenge with your members about the no spin. I think that's incredible. What other things do you do with your members?
Right now, we are preparing for summer. So I know that during the summer, people are not really thinking about their budget. They want to have fun. It's getting warmer outside. So they want to go on family vacations, and kids are out of school. They want to spend time with their kids. So right now, we're just going back to the basics of budgeting. And so we can get our money where it's in a good place with strategies that we put together so that we can pay off a ton of debt before summer begins, but also have a stash of savings in the summer to spend. And budgeting is really not difficult. In my program, I don't have any complicated percentages or all this fancy software. It's pen and paper. It's just math, plain old math. And whether you use a spreadsheet, pen and paper, or an app, when you just put your numbers down on paper and you see where you can make more income or where you can cut out your expenses, it's really going to take you far. And the main thing that we're doing right now is just establishing those good money habits, because we all know from the book Atomic Habits, like when you just become better 1% at a time every single day, it's going to take you far into a lifetime.
Absolutely. Little baby steps add up to big giant steps, and that's the incredible thing. Like we start small, but then we grow. I love the advice that you've been giving and just the hope that gives, because I think there's so much hope in just explaining how you found something different when you're seeking something different. You found something different and it has helped you to get out of debt, and now you're teaching other people. Tell me a little bit about the impact that has had on you as far as your emotional health, your spiritual health. Like, how has that impacted you just to have that kind of shift and have this new mission going on in your life?
Sure. So in my story, the first 2 years, like I said, was super hard because we were just living on the rice and beans diet and not doing anything fun. But it was in that third year that we started to feel more grateful for things that we had. And we incorporated the mystery shopping into our side hustle with our budget. We were able to pay off $41,000 of debt that year. And then the next year, of course, COVID happened, but we still paid off the last $5,000 of our debt. And the impact that I had when I look back, it aside from having like a grateful heart, it was always wanting to serve at our church too. So one of the things that I love to do, me being like a super introvert, being on the spectrum of 97% introvert, is I just love to play with the kids at kids church. So that was one of the things that had helped me too, because when you're playing with 2-year-olds, um they don't know, they're not gossiping, they're not talking about this, they're not complaining, they're just having fun with you. And so I realized, like, wow, there's more to it than just paying off the debt. There And I really wanted that for my people too in my membership. So one of the things that I disagree with other financial advisors is that you need to live on absolutely nothing until the debt is paid off. But what I wanted people to be able to spend time with their loved ones, with their family, while they're also paying off debt. Because we all know our kids grow up so fast. And even if you're only a couple years away from getting out of debt, those 2 years are going to go so fast and you won't be able to get it back. So having the mystery shopping really helped because I was able to take my kid on a magic show and we were able to go to fancy restaurants and other activities that wouldn't have been possible if we were only putting all that money towards the debt.
That is amazing. Just being able to have the time with the family. My kids are growing up too fast too. I totally understand that. It's it's interesting that you said specifically 41,000 because I'm just thinking about a debt that we had once, or the hospital debt that had come up unexpectedly, and it was $41,000, and it was something that we got this bill in, and talk about debt. We did not have the ability to pay that off lump sum. I mean, I'm not sure how many people out there do, but we certainly did not. And it was something we prayed over and said, okay, God, we trust this to you, because the hospital is telling us that it was going to be like $2,300 a month or something like that. Totally not in the budget. But it was a period of time, but after a while, we eventually had a call from the hospital when we kept calling them and reaching out, trying to get some help, and just prayed about it, trusted God with it. They forgave 100% of that debt. 100%. The whole $41,000, like $41,200 or whatever it was. But it is a very freeing feeling when that debt's gone. And especially like whether you worked for it or God wipes it away, or however you approach it, the weight of debt is very, very heavy. And that's something that we can feel hopeless with when we're under it, but God will always make a way. And I am so grateful for that. It goes back to the gratitude, but I'm so grateful for that God always makes a way, whether it's by finding the strategies, or if he decides to step up and do something amazing on that, which we didn't expect. That was just a complete surprise because we were working out ways to pay that off, but he just showed up. And I love how he is faithful to do that. And sometimes it's the process, because it might be the process of having to work through the mindset and work through the approach to money and work through all the things that got you to the point. And sometimes he's just wanting to show up and show off and say, okay, do you trust me? And I know that sometimes that is the question, like, do you trust me? So if you are out there right now and you're struggling with your debt, if God's not wiping it away like that, maybe there's something in the process that he's wanting you to learn. Maybe there's something in that the action steps of saying, okay, little steps add up. Let's go one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, keep trusting, keep moving forward, hold on to that hope, because there's a path laid out, and there's something that you can do about it. And as you do it, keep taking every step to him, and keep taking every bit of your attitude toward him too, so he can help shape and mold that into something that's going to be beneficial for you, because he's so good at that. He's so faithful. And he does renew our minds in that way. He does take something like if we've had an unhealthy view of even money, because I know that many people, myself in the past included, deal with even like scarcity mindset, or deal with all these different money mindset issues. And they're so common. So many people deal with that. If not most of us, pretty close to it, if not all of us, I mean. But allowing him to reframe that, reshape that, and go through the process to partner with him in that mindset change can be a very powerful thing. So I would like to invite you to just to share with our listeners where they can find more about your program, about Budget Divas, and about the Mystery Shopping Ninjas, I think you said it was called.
That's an amazing testimony that the $41,000 of debt was forgiven. And you're right. Like, when I started complaining about, God, here I am, like, giving you my tithes and my offerings, and I'm not seeing the fruit of my labor. And he just quieted me. He just was like, can you just trust me? And I was faithful, and it was hard because I knew that I would have gotten out of debt faster if I used that money for something else, but I just trusted him. And then at the end of our debt-free journey, I had a huge bonus from work that I could never have thought would have been possible, especially because it was the year of COVID. And so I just love your story of coming from a grateful heart. And so, if your listeners want to learn more about Budget Divas and Mystery Shopping Ninjas, you can go to budgetdivas.com. And I also have some free resources on the website that you can check out as well.
Thank you so much for sharing. I do encourage our listeners to go check those out. Love what you're saying about this, the grateful heart and the just with that testimony, just like with what you just shared, just saying like, yeah, I went through the steps. I let God transform my thinking. I let God renew my mind. And then at the end of it, when I did it his way, I got a bonus. It's like at that point, it's like, okay, this is awesome because you weren't relying on that. But it's like I felt like the fact that they wiped away the entire bill, that was totally a bonus because I just wanted help. I just wanted a reasonable amount to pay. And I was thinking we're gonna be in debt forever because of medical bills, because we had several things going on at the time. But just when we did it God's way, though, you get the bonus. And like, that's so cool how when we trust him, he's going to show up and he'll make himself known. He likes to show off. Let's face that. He likes to show off in a big way sometimes, but we have to allow him to do that inner, deeper work too. We have to let him help us renew our minds and change some of the thinking habits that we have, because if our thinking habits are not in alignment with him, then we're just going to get back in the same shape. It's like when you teach a man to fish versus if you just give him a fish, it's the same concept. We have to learn how to do it properly. We have to learn how to go through steps and do the right thing, or we're just going to find ourselves in the same mess to start with that we started with. So I'm thankful that he has such a way of leading us to information that's helpful and leading us to break down the previous mindset ideas and how we maybe have tried to do things in the past that didn't work. But I am excited to see what is happening in your membership and how others are becoming debt-free, and just that freedom and just the weight that gets lifted once you're through that process, and you don't have the same mindset about what is going on in your bank account. There's a total difference there. So I do appreciate how you have taken your experience and you're now blessing others through it. So thank you so much for sharing about that with us, and thank you for coming to share a bit of your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you once again for tuning in to the Everyday Royalty Podcast. I'm so honored to have you as a listener, and just wanted to extend the opportunity to share your testimony. As you may know, we value testimonies highly on this podcast, and we focus a lot on the power of those testimonies and just how important it is to share what God is doing and has done in your own story. If you are interested in sharing your story of how God has impacted your life and what he has done for you, then go to testimonies.everydayincredible.net to learn how to share yours. Always remember who and whose you are. Have a blessed day.